Hello again, welcome back. We're talking about SwiftUI again, and we've covered a lot of ground in these videos, right? So far, we've got our calculator set up. There's still a couple things we could take care of, right? There's actually a whole lot of things we can do, but our user interface is almost complete, okay? Um, so a couple things that I was thinking about when I was looking at this is, the buttons, they have some nice spacing here. These are not quite spaced out right, but a big problem is the bottom row is hitting the bottom of the screen, and that's not good. Like I want to push them up. So a feature in SwiftUI is a concept called a spacer. So a spacer is like a view. So you kind of write it the same way, kind of like you'd use a VStack or the color or the text, right? You just add a spacer, and you can put a spacer anywhere, right? So I could put a spacer between two buttons. I could have put a spacer between two rows, right? What I want to do here, though, is put a spacer at the bottom, okay? So remember, I've got the VStack here, and if I double click this, you can see like this shows me where the VStack ends, right? And then all these H stacks go right here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to add a spacer here, and it's uppercase S, spacer, right? Okay. And if I hit the parentheses here, you can use it with no parameters, or you can give it a length, okay? So I'll put the spacer there, and then you can see it pushes everybody up, right? And that's a little weird because you're like, well, why does it do this amount? How do I change the amount that we space? So the spacer has a lot of options, and it kind of does different things depending on where you put it. Generally, what it does is it fills the rest of the space. So if I understand how this works, when I added the spacer here, what it did is it pushed the everybody in here up as high as they would go, right? And basically this view at the top here, this text box, had a little bit of space at the top left over, and the spacer pushed it up against that zone, okay? So if I was to make, any of these rows smaller, then the spacer would take up more space. You can also set a number here. So if you type in the value, like if I put in spacer and then I do min length, like I can type a number in there like 24, and then it'll try and take up 24 space, right? Let's do like 60, right? But if we don't have a number, then it's going to take up, it's just going to fill whatever's left, or it's going to just fill up the available space, right? So let's put 10 in there. I think that looks pretty good, right? I think actually that's looking a lot better, right? Okay, so we got that taken care of. Now let's talk about the colors. So I want to be able to color each of these buttons differently. So again, I've got my make button function here. The other thing I want to do, sorry, I interrupted there, but I really want to change the size of the text. I feel like that looks a little better, maybe 28, Okay, so the other thing I want to do is I want to be able to set the color here. All the buttons right now are gray, okay? So what I'd like to do is add a param here. I'm going to close up this thing because this line right here is so long it's hard to read. But I've got title, width, height, and then I'm going to add one more parameter on the end here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this parameter right here, right, to replace the color. So the color is an enum that's, from color, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to type in lowercase color, that's our variable name, right? Colon, and it's type color. And then I'm going to put equals to give it a default value. So our default value was gray, so I'll type the gray in there. So essentially, without any parameters, this value for the variable color is going to be the same as what we have here. So I'll type it in there. Okay, and so hopefully nothing should change here. Let's resume there and wait for it to render. Okay, yeah, great. The green light's on, and that all looks the same. Okay, so now we can add an extra parameter to these buttons up here to change their color, right? So let's try that. So maybe this equal button right here could have a color, and we'll set the color to orange. Oh, there we go. So now we got the orange color here. And maybe the plus sign could have a, actually I'll just copy this, right? We'll copy that right there, and orange will also be the color for the plus sign, right? And then maybe the minus sign will be orange, and the multiply will be orange, right? And then maybe, oh, division should be orange too, okay? So let's try another thing. So like these buttons on the top row here, I want to make them like a darker gray. So let's give that a try. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'll color it orange for now, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to use color to generate a color scheme, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm going to type the color constructor, and then I'll hit the parentheses, and then it'll give me different ways to initialize a color. So I can initialize a color with, CG color with a named color string, a UI color, or something from the bundle. I can also initialize with red, green, blue, and opacity, or white and opacity. So I think this white one here is actually a good one for us because white is actually grayscale, right? So if you put 0, if I remember how this works, if you put 0 for white, that's black, and if you put 1 where white is, it's white, right? And then you can set the opacity. So I'm going to choose that option there, and then for some reason it gave me not that option. Let me try that one more time. I'm going to choose this one. Yeah, for some reason it did the whole thing. I'm going to just get rid of all that extra stuff. I don't think that I need that. So let's do white as a double. Let's do 0.3 and then opacity of 1. Oh, there we go. So we got a good looking dark gray there. That's kind of nice. Maybe that's a little too light. Maybe I want it even darker. Let's do 0.25. That's a little bit darker. Let's do 0.2. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Maybe 0.23. Yeah, I like that. Maybe 0.22. I don't know. Okay, you can decide, right? So let's do that, and then we'll set these other two right here to the same value, right? So I'm going to put in these guys there and make them dark gray. So I think that's looking pretty good. Actually, you know what I really want to do is I want to change this gray. I think it's too light. I need to make a dark, like a slightly darker gray. So let's give that a try. The only problem there is I like that, but the only problem is the value here is it's gonna make this, the parameter for this make button function, really long. We can still do it though. So I think here what we can do is we can say color, and then we can do, what was it? It was like white and opacity, right? So we'll do white of 0.5, and then do we need to do opacity there too? Maybe not actually. Let's do 0.4. Oh wait, I gotta click the resume button. It's not drawing. Oh yeah, oh sorry, I bumped the microphone there. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So I think I'm going to hold on this, and I think that solved a lot of the problems there, and this is looking pretty good now. Okay, so anyway, so I hope that was an interesting exploration of SwiftUI, and looking at how you might make a user interface with SwiftUI. And again, you could come up with your own solutions for any of these problems. Feel free to customize the interface here and make it look like whatever you think looks best. And again, thanks for watching.